We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Welcome to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, a show where a rotating cast of wrestling fans from around the world come and share and debate their opinions, with live comments from all of you shown throughout, as after all, fans are what makes wrestling so special. So sit back, grab a beverage and enjoy the show. Good evening from Swansea, South Wales, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast on a day coming out of AEW Worlds End 2025. And what a pay-per-view it was. I mean, that's pretty much to be expected with AEW pay-per-views at this point. I hope you all had a great Christmas if you celebrated. It's my first time back in a few days. I've been very much enjoying myself, and I've just come back now to my set. And I can't find my pen anywhere, and I always fiddle with my pen, so it's a little bit throwing me off, but I'll have to get on with it anyway. How are you, Clark? How was your Christmas?
Honestly, I'll take up a little time here so you can find that pen, Ben. It's been great. I'm stoked to be here. It's no worries at all. Happy Sunday to everybody. It was a blast last night watching World's End and everything. I tried to hold it down in your absence, short-term absence as best I could. I hope you enjoyed some of the shows, but it's good to see our other co-host again. I almost spoiled that. Now I'm at this point just totally waffling.
Unfortunately, the pen is nowhere to be seen, but somebody who is to be seen on today's show is All Elite Mary. How are you, Mary?
We're going back to back. We're like Drake. We're like back to back. Yeah. World's End was absolutely insane. I just finished wrapping it up just a little bit ago. I absolutely enjoyed it. I cannot wait to get into it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun one to break down. We got Bobby Batito in the comments, Adrian Padilla, Fernando Zayas, shout out to you all. Also, Zach saying National Chocolate Candy Day, everyone. And Adrian Padilla saying that rating World's End, he'd give it a 6 or a 7. Oh, no.
Don't do it. Don't do it, man.
I'm not doing it. Don't worry. I'm not doing it. I refuse. Shard did it once on this show, and I've still not recovered. But something else which I've not recovered from is Jon Moxley winning the Continental Classic. Clark, you predicted it. Nobody else did. I am absolutely stunned that he's actually done it. I thought Okada or Takeshita or Fletcher, one of those three, but Mox has actually done it. We started with Takeshita and Okada opening the show last night, the dream match. Did it quite live up to the expectations some people had? No, but the reason it didn't is both of them are in huge matches next weekend at Wrestle Kingdom, so I think they were kind of just leaving the door open for a better match down the line, an unclean finish. Meanwhile, Fletcher and Moxley, it was the opposite. I don't want to say I had low expectations, but they certainly weren't that high. That match stole the show. It was phenomenal. 5 stars on the Wrestling Republic scale. And then we had Moxley and Okada, the first time ever. A fun match, not as good as Fletcher and Moxley, but again, that's an incredibly high bar. And in the end, Jon Moxley is the Continental Champion. Clark, Okada's reign is over.
I mean, honest to goodness, I think this is just proof that I'm like the luckiest kid in the world. Because truthfully, when me and Anthony and Des broke down our predictions for this show, I was hosting that show, and Anthony and Des both made logical points. They made logical points. They picked logical winners. They broke down the finish of the tournament in ways that made perfect sense. And I sat back there and I said, and I fell completely backwards into good luck. I was like, you know what? No one's going to pick Moxley. I will. If anything, we might laugh about it later. Well, guess who's laughing now? Guess who's laughing now? Jon Moxley winning this tournament. In hindsight, at the time, I was making the pick for vanity's sake in some ways. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And all of the matches from a tournament standpoint delivered. Absolutely delivered. The formula with the Continental Classic has gotten better by the year, I think. And that's something that's been hard to quantify in some ways. But I was blown away by this year's tournament. And I love that Moxley, the shock victory happened, because you just don't get to see that all the time in wrestling, where there's no way Moxley's going to win this. And then he does. And the matches delivered. I'm really, really proud of what AEW did in the Continental Classic. I thought this was one of the best years yet as far as that tournament is concerned.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you. And to your point about Moxley making perfect sense, it truly did. And what I'm about to say, I say with all due respect, because Peter Rosenberg is 10 times the podcast, not even 10 times, he's a million times the podcaster that I could ever dream to be. But his tweet last night about it, maybe right before the main event, isn't the time for a rambling speech about God knows what. I could not disagree with that tweet anymore, because Jon Moxley's promo was absolutely incredible. Because when he turned heel, he started this Death Riders arc, which was at times very boring and very repetitive. But what he said at the start was that his aim was to make AEW more competitive, and he wanted everybody to not be complacent. And if you compare AEW now to 18 months ago, that on air does seem to be the case. People seem to want things more, and the Continental Classic summarized that perfectly. I mean, one of the leagues was a tie until the final day. That is just an absolute miracle mathematically. But for Jon Moxley to now be like, you know, all of you did great. I'm happy to be here. You know, we're the best wrestle. I think that made an absolute bunch of sense, Mary. But what were your thoughts on Moxley winning?
I was just about as shocked as the rest of the world, but I will say, to that promo afterwards, I feel like is the first seed that has finally been planting and just made their little sprout to the Death Riders finally splitting up. When we all saw Jon Moxley dropping the hardest babyface promo of the entire year, in my opinion, we didn't see happy faces from the rest of the Death Riders, did we? We all saw them standing there as you know, as noble as they could be, but they weren't jolly. They weren't celebrating with the crowd. They were just listening to their mentor speaking and going on about their day. But that again, that defeats the whole point of what the Death Riders have done throughout this entire year, even when Mox was champion. So now he's winning the Continental Classic to show that he really is in it for the talent. He is in it for the people, which completely separates what the Death Riders arc is all about. I loved the matches. I loved Kyle versus Mox. I loved Okada versus Mox. Wow. Just wow.
Absolutely. It was a banger, Mary. It absolutely was. And like Clark said, this entire tournament has been that banger after banger after banger. A lot of fun. Bobby Petito mentioning Kyle Fletcher is great. And yet, to Mary's point, he really impressed this past weekend. And not just this weekend, this entire tournament. It's been incredible for him. DCX Warlord saying, I knew he was winning. And now Mox can say he's the only man to have won the IWGP US and World title, the International, World Continental, WWE Heavyweight, Tag, US, and Intercontinental Championships. I mean, Jon Moxley, his career. I mean, look, I said this before, but I'll say it again right now. Him leaving WWE, I think, was the perfect decision for him, not just because of his, own personal issues with WWE, but as a career, I think he was on a trajectory to be third best in the Shield. He's left and stuff elsewhere, and you can make arguments now that he is on par. He's gone a different route, but he's on par because of the level of impact that he has had.
It's almost like if you're an NBA fan, he's in a little bit of a way like the James Harden of the Shield. When the Thunder had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and James Harden was sort of the third. Right, and then after the fact, he became the most there's an argument like Durant is still Durant, but the comparison sort of makes sense. And yeah, so I love that one. I want to shout out Daniel Garcia last night because Mary brought up the facial expressions on the Death Riders. The fact that when Mox cut the promo and as he's exiting the ring, he just nodded and his face didn't move. That's hard to do just from like an acting perspective. Even I'm sorry, like I was blown away by how good it was. His facial expression was unchanged and he just nodded at him and then they exited the ring. And it was like, oh, that was so good. Just such like a little piece because it's so funny because when it comes to Daniel Garcia, we've talked about like, oh, he just needs the personality to add. We know he's great bell to bell. We know he's this, that, the other. He's got more personality than anyone gives him credit for. He's did the dancing thing. He's done all of that stuff. Daniel Garcia may be one of the ones that benefits the most from this Death Riders run down the road, in my eyes.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. BJ Dixon says World's End was a solid A- for me, although there are some things I would have changed. Davis, who of course was in the venue last night, says, what a show it absolutely was. But we've spoken about the Continental Classic, a lot of good there. Up next, I want to talk about FTR against the Bang Bang Gang, because to me, this match showed how many people don't watch Collision, because this was the blow-off match to a multi-month feud, and the crowd could not care less. Look, I'm going to be honest, I don't even think this match should have been on pay-per-view because, as always with AEW pay-per-views, I did think it was a couple of matches too long, and that's my only complaint about it, and that is a common theme every single pay-per-view. All amazing, a little too long to watch in one sitting. This match should not have been on there. The crowd did not care about it. And again, Clark, it brings up a bigger issue about not necessarily the future of AEW Collision, but being able to actually tell major stories on there if then when it comes to the pay-per-view, the crowd has no clue what's going on.
I agree 100% that this is something we need to address down the road. Collision, I think it's important. It is on Saturday night. It's fascinating, right? We have Saturday night wrestling every week. And we act like Collision is the B show, and it is. Let's be honest with ourselves at this stage. I had no issues with the match. I watch Collision as often as I possibly can. I'm wondering if there's a solution broader than this, where maybe potentially you re-air Collision on another night of the week as well to try to get more eyeballs on that product. I don't know exactly how you fix that problem because it does seem to happen nearly at every pay-per-view. There will be a match that was really, really, really well built over on the Saturday show, and half the crowd doesn't know what's going on. And that is brutal for both teams that were involved in this because it was a solid match. There was nothing, different time and different place. I don't think that we perceive it the same way or with negativity. It really does boil down to, as you mentioned, the issue that a large portion of the fan base doesn't watch Collision. And I don't know exactly how you fix that. That's the hardest thing for me to sort of digest and figure out.
I do. Very easy solution. Something which I've been saying that AEW should do more of since 2019, and actually they did it for the Continental Classic last night, and they did a tremendous job. But more video packages. Tell the story. WWE have been doing them for 30 years for a reason. They work.
I really didn't know you'd be in your bag like this today, Ben. That's spot on.
100%.
I mean, 2025 has been the year that women's wrestling has really just dominated men's wrestling, been way better. And on this show, when it came to tag team wrestling, we saw the same thing because the Babes of Wrath did retain the women's tag team championships against Athena and Monet. And I loved this match. I really, really did. I know there was a few sloppy moments that the internet loves to tweet about because Mercedes Monet is involved, but I loved it. I'm sorry, I absolutely did. And once again, after losing, Mercedes Monet had a brilliant facial expression. She is now, every time she loses, it is a meme and it is brilliant. She knows what she is doing, and I'm excited for Monet versus Willow on this week's Dynamite. But Mary, what did you think of this tag team bout?
I'm going to say, I know last week when we were reviewing the Dynamite episode and the Babes of Wrath did lose. They did get pinned clean by Monet. I was very triggered. I was very upset. I was very very concerned as to why we're not protecting our tag team champions, our inaugural tag team champions, for barely a week. But boy, oh boy, did they apologize to me last night. That was a wonderful match between those two, Monet and Athena. I feel like they could be a tag team. Just, they gotta lose their belts first. It's nothing's making sense right now with them chasing another belt when we all know they should be feuding for the belts that they're wearing. And I know, to what Ben was adding, that some had some not so kind words to say for Monet. I think she was brilliant last night. Her crash out at the end with the backstage interview, I loved it. I loved it. Congrats to the babes, the babes.
The babes of Wrath. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Mary, and I do think Athena Monet is going to be on the horizon. Bobby Batista predicting that Julia Hart and Sky Blue, the Spooky Sisters, or the Sisters of Sin, sorry, that's the one. Shard's really thrown me off with those Spooky Girls reference that he made months ago, and before they had a name, it kind of just stuck. But I'd love to see them honestly take the titles off the Babes of Wrath long term. But up next, guys, let's talk about Darby Allin versus New Japan Pro Wrestling star Gabe Kidd, because this match was a lot of fun. But the biggest thing coming out of it that I thought, and this isn't some big revelation, but is that Gabe Kidd is somebody that clearly AEW want, because obviously Darby Allin got the win. That was predictable. But it was not like it was a clean win, but it wasn't like a super blatant victory. It was a roll-up. It protected Gabe Kidd. It left the door open for something long-term. And just like AEW did when they tried to get Will Ospreay, just like WWE did when they tried to get Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry, AEW are making moves through their partnership with New Japan now to try and get that deal done before the negotiations even start. But I really loved this match, Clark.
I adored this match, and Gabe Kidd is, in my eyes, and I'm not trying to just over the top recklessly speculate here, but in my eyes, he's almost as good as already signed. Like, this guy, AEW cares. One more thing I want to add, though. Let's stop this narrative about Darby Allin not being good at wrestling, because he can put on a great match with so many different people. Yes, crash test dummy and every cliche you'd like to throw out there in the world. Darby likes to do what Darby likes to do. That's who he is. That's his actual real life personality. And this guy can go bell to bell with any style in professional wrestling if you ask him to, and deliver. And he did once again last night. So I'm super done with the Darby Allin can't go, Darby Allin this. He's just a stunt double or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Knock it off. He went bell to bell with Gabe Kidd in an absolute Ken Griffey Jr. 1997 slugfest. And it was awesome. So that's where I'm at on this one. I adored this match.
The only people who claim that Darby Allin can't wrestle either don't watch him wrestle or aren't you. Because those are the only two people who really think that he can't wrestle, because he can. Does he maybe have a moveset which is going to hurt him long-term in life? I think so. A lot of people think so. But at the same time, this dude just doesn't die. He's gone through so many injuries. He's climbed Mount Everest. He won't die. He's like Kenny off South Park. You think he's killed off every episode. He somehow is back the next week. You don't understand how he does it. But he does do it. And I do think what you said there, Clark, is very good. And Fernando with an interesting comparison to Mick Foley. I hadn't necessarily thought of that one.
I kind of like it, though. I'm not going to lie. One of my all-time favorites. Shout out to Saint Mick. It is still pseudo Christmas season.
It is. I mean, it's in the weird part between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, it's the dead zone. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
But we do have the lights up still here over at WR.
Obviously.
We have not taken the decorations down. Not yet.
Not until Jan 1st.
Yeah, why wouldn't we? Not till January 1st. It's still Christmas. Either way, the net of it is, I do think that Darby, he's just a better wrestler than people realize. It's the personality that sort of puts people in an uncomfortable situation, I think, at times, because he's so willing to do dangerous things that it almost like it strikes fear in people in a way, not like they're afraid of him.
Fear
They're
for
afraid
him, I'd say. Yeah.
fear for, that's what I mean. Like it gives you like a little like the the bubble guts, right? It gives you like the butterflies in your stomach where you're like, is he gonna be okay? Now I think he's the only person that I've seen in recent years that's actually capable of doing what he does, because that takes skill too.
No, it does.
He's not just sitting here with the highest pain tolerance in wrestling. He probably has that too, but it does also take skill to execute the things that he does execute. He can also have a really, really high quality regular wrestling match. I go back, I look at he was CM Punk's return to the ring after 7 years. And I'll never forget this. My father looked me dead in the eyes after the match. He goes, that little guy carried CM Punk, didn't he? After the match, we were there live. And it's just, I'm not saying that Punk isn't.
No, I know what you mean, but when you there's that long of a break, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But up next, I want to get back to a point we were talking about earlier with the Death Riders, right? Because as we said earlier, Moxley, things are going well for him. For the Death Riders, things aren't going well because they lost again last night. They are losers. And they lost to a bunch of TV, comedy, whatever you want to call it. That act, the conglomeration, I really love them. I really, really do. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm not really a fan of multi-man matches, right? When it gets to 8 people plus, I don't really like them more often than not. This was an exception. This was just bucket loads of fun. I'm sorry that's not that valuable when it comes to analyzing it, but that's the truth. It was bucket loads of fun. That's all I really have to say about it, right? It's like playing Fortnite in the pandemic, playing dodgeball in PE at the end of the year, having a couple of drinks, watching a comedy show. Just bucket loads of fun. I absolutely loved it, Mary.
So did I. I'm also kind of there with you. I'm not really one for multi-men, multi-women matches unless it makes sense. And with what was going on with Tony Storm and Marina Shafir, to the conglomeration going with oh Lord, I had a brain fart. Mark Briscoe as our TNT champion going with Danny Garcia, the crowd going nuts on Wheeler Yuta per usual, Claudio and Roderick Strong getting their little storyline started since Roddy did pin Claudio clean. I don't know if we all remember that. So I feel like that'll be another story down the road. But it's like I said earlier when we were talking about Jon Moxley. This match was the water to that little seed that planted and sprouted tonight as well, with the Death Riders splitting up. I think that their loss, this was the final loss that they needed to capitalize on what happens next with the group itself.
Absolutely. And again, Moxley talking about how great of a place AEW is in. Meanwhile, his faction just lost earlier in the night. I mean, we said they weren't smiling, right? Garcia, to your point, Clark, was nodding while having a straight face. But I do think there's tensions boiling over. That water is almost spilling out of the pan now, and I am excited for it. And also, I mean, Marina Shafir and Roderick Strong. That part was so funny.
Unbelievable how good that was.
Loved it.
Just clever as could be, too. Like, what more could you honestly ask for? As like a fan, that was like, it's funny because like back in the day, it was always like the AEW hardcore fan thing, right? And that is probably for the more like over the top informed fan, that spot, right? The way that it's booked, but it totally landed because even if you didn't know the story, you almost had to ask based on the way that the crowd reacted. And I think that was sort of the brilliance, right? Even if you didn't know why it was so good, you had to ask on that one. It was perfectly placed. I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
And Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro's swing on Tony Storm as well. I couldn't believe it, but it was Tony sold it so well.
Maybe the best sell on a swing. Tony Storm, I'm just going to say this once.
Go for it.
When it comes to professional wrestling, we cover this all the time. She is the best and most infectious professional wrestler in the world, period. bar none.
Wow.
It's not even close. Toni Storm is
Fact.
the absolute best in the game. She
Fact.
is Michael Jordan right now. She's whether you were a Messi or a Ronaldo person back in the day, she's one of the two. It's not in my eyes. There's no debate. She doesn't miss. She half made this match.
You might
and was
be
like
right.
the
I can't
add-on. She does not miss anymore.
I
Like
am
ever.
all Elite Mary, and I second that.
She is the best at this, which we all love, going right now. I could make a strong argument, man. I truly believe it. Toni Storm is the best worker in the business right now going, period, across the board. Everything she touches turns to gold.
She's AEW's QB1.
Yep.
Big call, but I mean, it's hard to disagree. There are other examples you can name and argue, but it's hard to actually disagree against the case for Toni Storm because she has been that good. And we've talked about this before, but both Swerve and Toni Storm, both of them left WWE and their stock rose so much and became huge deals. And DCX Warlord saying, we need to thank Charlotte Flair for the birth of timeless Toni Storm. I mean, it's not Charlotte's fault. It's Vince's, isn't it, for booking that dreadful pie spot? What were they thinking? I don't know. But what were AEW thinking about Statlander versus Jamie Hayter? Because I want to say a couple of things about this. The first thing I want to say is I thought the match was very good. I think both ladies did a fantastic job. My issue lays with AEW and the crowd. But both those issues kind of come back to AEW because the crowd not really caring about this match was because AEW in the build to this match did not care about this match. There was no real good build for it. They barely spoke about it on Dynamite in the weeks building up to it. They didn't give fans a reason to care, and therefore they didn't. And it sucked because, like I said, it was a really good match, and Stat and Jamie Hayter deserve better. But it is just kind of frustrating to me, Clark. I'm not going to lie.
I truly couldn't agree more. I think card placement was a real killer on this one. We've discussed it earlier in the show when it comes to the timing of some of these matches, and it's so many and it's so much to digest at once, right? It's like you're watching. It's the difference between binge watching and watching one episode at a time, right? And so you can get sort of mentally exhausted, and I think that really, really hurt, especially the crowd reaction to this match. Like at some point, you got to sort of stand up and stretch your feet, figure something out. Right. And that totally hurt this one a touch. The other thing is, I think Jamie Hayter is supremely talented. I have serious empathy for her. The tie to Dr. Britt Baker and the rise that she had pre Mariah May, pre Toni Storm, all of this years ago was something I thought we really could have capitalized on. And it wasn't her fault. Flies sort of started to drop around her. And now we're in a position where we can book her to have a run like that, but it doesn't feel the same as it did then. I would love for her to find more stable footing because I think Jamie Hayter is a true star in not only AEW, but in wrestling period. And she's capable of doing a lot more. So when it comes to the AEW and the building stuff you mentioned, Ben, I would have liked to seen more stock in Jamie Hayter over the last few months heading into this match.
Yeah.
And I think that may have fixed some of the issues that we both have on this one.
Absolutely. And there was an interesting comment here from Fernando, not about Jamie Hayter, but about Chris Statlander, saying that she's looking very strong, but the fans are not connecting with her, unfortunately. Now, Clark, I want to remind you about something which I said a few months ago on the Wrestling Republic podcast, because both you and Shard especially, were laughing at me. You were having a go at me about it, but I said, I don't think as champion, Chris Statlander is really going to be able to get fans behind her. And that is nothing to do with her, to be clear. It is to do with her booking and how she kind of half-turned face, but her character was never really clear. They gave her the title before really making it clear who she is nowadays. And that sucks because she is so talented. It was just the writing around it I thought was very poor. And unfortunately, since she's won that belt, outside of perhaps the Monet match, there's been very little very little creativity, let me just say. She's not felt like the world champion Monet has, which is interesting.
I think that's part of the problem, Ben. You hit the nail on the head right there. She needs more time.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. The title reign can mean the world to Chris Statlander for the rest of her career if she's allowed the opportunity to capitalize upon it.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's actually had the full opportunity. She's basically worked with minimal time building feuds and putting on really good matches during this stretch. And the audience is like, but what's really going on with Chris? This is supposed to be like the crowning moment of her career, right? It is the crowning moment of her career. We haven't heard her talk about it or like how much it matters or anything like that. She hasn't had the time to do so. And so if you tell us the story, it's a real simple solution. Because Chris, there's no denying, to your point, the way you brought it up, there's no denying her talent. There isn't.
None.
And
she's incredible.
And she doesn't lack charisma. Not at all. She's got charisma in spades. She can work multiple styles. She's as good of a professional wrestler as you can ask anyone to be. It's just
we just don't know who she is.
That's
like,
kind of where I'm at too, right?
They've not given us the reason.
I'm like the most Statlander stuff is the alien boop stuff, and that's 4 years old, right? That's like a
5 even.
That gimmick is in kindergarten by now.
6 years old.
Like it's like that gimmick's in kindergarten at this stage. It's not even.
But I think it's finished kindergarten. I think it's on to the next one now. It's gone to the junior
grade
school.
one.
But Mary, I want to get your thoughts on this women's championship match.
You both were hitting great points, but I kind of wanted to bring back to what Clark mentioned with Jamie Hayter. I feel like a lot of people wanted her to either turn heel or be the bad guy in this sense for Chris Statlander to be able to capitalize as the dominant babyface champion that's dominating everybody. But I think after this match being so far along on the card, number one, the crowd didn't care. They were so I bet they were so emotionally distraught from all the wonderful matches prior to this one that just the overall placement was just not it. But I just truly think, to go into Chris Statlander a little bit, she became champ at a really weird time. Time to this statement is going to mean so much. We came off of the Timeless one, the one that we just said is the QB1 of AEW. She was on a high horse, 4-time women's champion. To have her lose and then someone else with not to discredit her at all, with no character, no real standard bout to who she is, take the belt from her. That was interesting, but I'm afraid to the future of her, it's not going to work out.
I have the exact same fear, and I hope we're wrong. I'm excited to see. I hope there's a solution, and if so, I'm excited to see it. But I don't know. There will be a solution. They've just got to find that solution, and that's what I don't know if they're gonna do. Because, like we've all said, she is so talented. There is going to be ways easily you can fix this now. Not even a long-term solution. There's short-term ones on the table, but they have to give her time, and they have to give her good stuff to do with that time. But talking about time, it is now MJF's time at the top once again, because he is the new AEW champion, and it's a move which needed to happen, and I'm glad they did it. The part I still don't understand is why Samoa Joe held the belt, why he beat Hangman Page for it, because I don't actually think it helped the Ops in any way, shape, or form. It made them seem like the B-Tech Death Riders, if I'm being completely honest here. But what it did do was shorten Hangman's reign. I think they could have done this exact story with this exact match with the title still on Hangman Page. And that way they could have presented as, will Swerve turn on Hangman? That can be the story of this feud as you're building the triple threat up. Then MJF returns as he did, cashes in as he did, and then wins last night like he did. Very subtle changes to it. But essentially, Samoa Joe holding this title for a second time, I think, is completely completely pointless. It absolutely is. I don't know why, but ultimately, I'm not going to complain too much, Clark, because MJF is champion once again, and I'm happy about that.
All is right in the world again. The rightful champion is back on the throne. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. We talked about Tony Storm. That'd be the only other name in AEW I think that matters as much. It's not even close in my eyes. I'll say this about Samoa Joe's reign. In 5 years, when Samoa Joe is hopefully drinking pina coladas on a beach in Hawaii, retired, we're going to be stoked he got one last world title reign. I get that the timing was weird. But right this second, it's not about Hangman. It's not about Samoa Joe. It's about MJF. And the right guy is carrying the title once again. I cannot wait to see. Let's set aside the Hangman Page losing the title stuff, the Samoa Joe losing the title stuff. Headed into 2026, Maxwell Jacob Friedman is carrying the AEW World title, and whatever he does with it is gonna be awesome. And we know it. We know it. It's a guarantee. It's MJF. He's so good at what he does. He's so infectious in every single way. He's the slime of the earth, and we love it. And I don't care. I don't care if you're not supposed to like him. MJF should have been champion a long time ago. All is right in the AEW world. Once again, the right call was made. The cash-in made sense. I'm fired up. It all worked out at the end of the day. Say what you will about the rest of it. It all worked out.
I agree with the second half of what you said. Absolutely. The part I will disagree with is you're talking about Samoa Joe's legacy and all of that stuff. Samoa Joe's legacy is so amazing that a 1 month world championship reign with a bounty is already held for longer, where there was no highlights, absolutely no highlights during it, is not going to be remembered. It's not going to be remembered.
Promo exchange, and not only that,
it's going to be like nobody's going to remember it.
Stop it. Stop it.
No, I'm being,
people don't
being
forget.
Dead serious. Nobody's going to remember it.
I remember stuff the Hurricane said in 2001, Ben. You're telling me no one's going to remember Samoa Joe's title reign? Stop it.
I really don't. But Mary, what do you think now that Maxwell Jacob Friedman is once again AEW World Champion?
Well, I'm just as infectiously excited as Clark. Do not get me wrong. I was very sad to see my dearest Samoa Joe lose, but you know what? It's okay, because it's like Clark said, all is right in the world. We're going to come in the new year hot with I feel, the next big thing. MJF, he's so good. He's so good. He can be gone for months and months and months and come back like he never left. Not a lot of people can do that. And when he came in hot and just decimated everyone in that first interaction promo, I say give him the belt. Just give him the belt back. It makes sense again. It's all the thoughts are clicking, and I'm so excited to see what's next for him, let alone with Bandito, as we all were kind of talking about last Dynamite, with whoever's going to win that ring, that big old shiny ring. And I think MJF is the best candidate to go into the new year, to start these new feuds, to start these new talent, like excellent matches. MJF can put on a good one. And I can't wait to see what's next for his second reign.
Absolutely. And to your point about the ring as well, I mean, that was kind of the point to me. I was like, MJF is clearly winning this. Because otherwise, why on earth would you have him lose the ring out of nowhere like that and have Bandito win it instead? But now you're doing that program, a first program for this championship for MJF. I'm excited to see it. I really am. Make the ring involved as well. Add some stakes to it. Have MJF win the ring back. And Bandito, we've been singing his praises all of 2025. But to start 2026 in a program like that, he deserves it. And it is undoubtedly going to be a banger of a bout. DCX Warlord justifying it as MJF rewriting the wrongs from 2 years ago. I get that, but Hangman's beaten him 3 times since.
I'll say this right now.
He'd still be rewriting wrongs if he beat Hangman.
I'll say it right now, though, Ben. I don't think MJF loses this title until next year's World's End.
Potentially.
And there's no reason. We've talked about like the hot potato on the title with Hangman, and Hangman is a big subject here because of the Samoa Joe factor and everything else that went down this year when it comes to that title. Remember, we didn't even get to see it for a year. John Moxley was carrying it in a briefcase. True. We didn't even get to see it. It like didn't exist. You could buy it on AEW Shop, but you couldn't look at it. That was the whole deal.
Had to Google it to see it.
Yeah, you had to Google it. At the end of the day, though, I think the key here is now when you have it in Max's hands, revisionist history is revisionist history, and like I character arc wise, Hangman is gonna be back in the big picture in the long run. I think so too.
Yeah,
I like he's very important. Hangman and Max as the Austin sort of Rock of AEW of this modern era is so enticing. And if Hangman Page turns around in 1 calendar year from right now at World's End, wins that title off MJF, boy, did they get something right there. And I think that is the route that I would go.
There is one more, though, which is what if I was a betting man and I was betting right this minute, it is what I would bet on. And that is All in London. Will Ospreay, MJF, have Will Ospreay once again beat MJF, give him that AEW championship, give him his moment. That is another outcome I could easily see.
I now fully understand why you were dogging the Samoa Joe thing. See, you disrespected me and Mary, both from the West Coast, our West Coast hometown guy, and you just lobbed your hometown guy into the main event picture like that. I see what this is.
I did too.
I could see right through this. That's unbelievable. You're like, oh, no one's going to remember Samoa Joe, but my guy from Britain.
Oh, I love Samoa Joe. I'm not dissing him. That's why I'm saying it. He's going to be a footnote in his career, and it meant a lot more to Hangman Adam Page. That's why I'm saying it. But Jay White is showed from Fernando Zayas. I don't mind that idea at all. And TCX Warlord saying the exact same thing. You guys know me. I'm a big Jay White fan. I hope when he does return, he's presented as a big deal. But guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit that like button. It really helps, as well as subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Mary. And we will be back same time, same place tomorrow for a bit of Mailbag Monday. See you guys then. Peace.